Anthony Kelly went from growing up in Dorchester, South Carolina, to now being a published author of various books. I sit down one-on-one with Anthony for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Anthony Kelly.
Yes, sir.
It's so good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
I appreciate it greatly.
Yes.
I know that recently you reached out to me over on Twitter, and you said the following to me in a direct message. You said this: "Hello, sir. I just got finished watching your interview with Miss Brittany Mathis," meaning Brittany Mathis from the Friends of the Charleston County Library.
Yes.
And they just recently held their Black Ink Festival with Terry McMillan.
Yes.
And you said that it was a wonderful piece. Thank you for watching.
It was.
I appreciate it greatly.
It was.
Thank you greatly. And I know that you told me too that you are a writer from Ridgeville, and you're wondering if I will be willing to sit down and do a one-on-one interview with you.
Yes.
So here we are.
Okay.
Let's talk about you.
Okay.
You are Anthony Kelly.
Yes, sir.
And from what I understand, you're obviously an author. You studied at Triton Technical College. And if I'm correct, you actually went to high school at Harleyville, Ridgeville High School, right?
Yes, I did.
And obviously you're married to your wife, Emily. I know also on Twitter you said this too: "The world needs healing. My sole purpose is to nurse it back to good health through the art of storytelling." So how do you get the world back to healing through your storytelling?
Well, I bring a unique perspective. I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I grew up in a small town called Dorchester, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And I presently live in Ridgeville.
Yeah.
So I'm a Carolina boy with a huge imagination. My imagination got me in so much trouble in school. And I finally, around the age 25 or so, I finally started getting a real hold on it and figured out a way to use that imagination. And that was through writing. And I feel like my perspective, coming from a wholesome state and a small town, I feel like I can give the world something that they really are looking for. You know, we're looking for that slow pace and the wholesomeness that's missing in the world. You know, a lot of we're so fast paced these days. Everything is Twitter,
Right.
Facebook,
Right.
Social media.
Right.
Everything is quick. The commercials are super fast. I slow things down and just give you I try to paint a good picture of some of the things. I touch on serious topics such as child abuse, racism, and just poverty. I come from a humble background, so I really can show you a good picture of how I was growing up as a poor black boy from South Carolina.
Who was Anthony Kelly as a kid in Dorchester, South Carolina?
Oh man, I was that kid always dreaming. Always dreaming. I grew up in a 52 by 12 single wide trailer. It could be anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 people living in that trailer at one time. Like humble beginnings. When I say humble beginnings, I mean really humble beginnings. And I was that kid that would sit and look out the window and look at this oak tree across the field and dream. I was a dreamer growing up. But I was always also a helper. I would be the first to help you out with something. Always the first to talk to you. I would like to. I had issues on my own, but I would rather listen to your issues and see that you were okay.
Yeah.
That was me growing up.
Wow. What got you from dreaming in a trailer, overlooking an oak tree, to now being this well-established author?
My mom, she really instilled some things in me that, I kind of took for granted as a kid. And now looking back, it was hard growing up, but now the lessons I learned from my mom and my grandmother, and even my dad, there was a lot of alcoholism and violence in my life growing up. Not for me, but the adults around me.
Right.
Not my mother. My mother didn't drink or do anything. But other family members, there was a lot of stuff going on. But for the most part, I learned a lot. I had a loving family growing up in Dorchester. The Mays family, that's my dad's side of the family. My mom was the Kelly side, and both sides of the family, they really instilled some good things in me.
What is that title of a book that you were writing about your childhood, looking back then to now?
What would the title be? Anthony's perspective. Yeah, that's the first thing that popped in my head.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Let me stay on the books, because obviously you have 3 published books, and you also have a new one coming up right now.
Yes.
Mech, that is.
Mech.
Mech, excuse me.
MECH, Mech, it's short for mechanism, or the mechanism.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the new one. It should be out in another 2 months. It'll be out.
Wow.
Yes. Or less.
Less. You have Saving Miss Caroline. You have Sunshine. You have Jaja. Which one of these books describe you?
Oh, wow. I would say the first book published, that would be Saving Miss Caroline. It's about a little boy, Travis Moore. He's grown up in a small town called Batham Island, South Carolina. It's a fictional town. And a lot of his struggles were my struggles growing up. Being bullied in school, having the issues with, your dad, because the man that raised me was not my biological dad.
Right.
But that was my dad, because that's the only one I knew. But Travis has those same issues. He's being picked on in school. He's poor, and he's trying to find himself. And ultimately he does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sunshine. What got you from Saving Miss Caroline to Sunshine?
Now, Sunshine is actually a collection of poems. In 2005, around September 2005, I think I might have been in Korea, because I used to be a defense contractor for years, going overseas. And I had all these poems in my head, so I started emailing all of my friends and family poems.
Yeah.
And just recently, my wife said, why don't you publish your poems? And she would say that over the years, and I never really thought about it until recently. All of my books are self-published, by the way. I publish them myself.
Wow.
And so I started looking through some of them, and I said, yeah, that makes sense. So I started publishing poems. This is the first of my maybe 8 books, 7 more books to come.
Wow.
Yeah, those are full of poems.
Wow. And then how do we get here with Jaja in your mind?
Now Jaja is, okay, Saving Miss Caroline was published first, but Jaja was actually the first story that I wrote. And that story came out in 2016. The book was published in 2016, but the story was started back in 2002, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my baby right there.
Wow.
And that story is about, it's written as a metaphor. The entire story is a metaphor for a curse on the black race. And how the curse is to be broken is by way of drinking a certain water that's coming up through a natural aquifer behind a church in the country. And this water is only going to come up for a certain period of time, and the family who's cursed, they have to drink that water and actually get rid of the actual curse. I made the curse into an actual person, and that person has to be dealt with. I won't go into too many details, but so the water is the Jaja, and Jaja is actually Nigerian for God's gift.
Oh, wow.
The word Jaja is God's gift.
Let me ask you this. There's so much talk about racism right now, and obviously poverty. How do you, as an author, Anthony Kelly, write about this?
I have a thing where I write, I don't even know what it's going to be when I start, whatever the idea is, I have if you see on the front of Sunshine, that's my space, that's my little space I go and write. It's a bonus room over my garage, and I go there, light an incense, light candles if I have to, and when I'm writing, when I'm creating, I put on certain movie scores. Whatever I think the story is leading me, or whatever the story is trying to tell me, I try to find that movie score. A lot of the new book, Mech, Batman Returns.
Wow.
Oh no, Batman Black, the Black Knight I think it's called. I got Hans Zimmer is the guy that does the scores. I'll go and find some of his best music, and I'll listen to that. And the story usually just comes through me. It's more so. I'm more so. I say it's God's intuition coming through me. Yes.
What else is God talking to you about when it comes to the role of writing?
I feel like a lot of, I feel like we don't read enough. I don't read enough. I don't read enough. I actually have a learning disability, believe it or not. And so that's one thing I have to struggle to do is read. So it's been a challenge to write, because if you don't read a lot, you're not going to have a lot of vocabulary. So I started reading Charles Dickens back maybe 10 years ago.
Wow.
And some of his books, Oliver Twist,
Right.
Some of his stories really give me the tools that I need to write. It's a rhythm that I use, that I can feel, when I go back and read my own stories, it's a rhythm there. And I think a lot of Charles Dickens, Terry McMillan,
right.
I just met her at the...
Yeah, I have it here.
Okay, you have a picture of her. Yeah. I've met a few celebrities in my time, and she's the coolest celebrity I've ever met in my life. She's like just a normal person. I mean, she sat and talked to me, for like at least 20 minutes.
Wow.
So, yeah, and but I read her book, Waiting to Exhale.
Right.
I read that book a few years back, and how she used different characters. She's writing from about 5 or 6 different perspectives.
Right.
I use that in Mech. So I have about 5 or 6 different characters that I tell their point of view. I let all of them talk, and I got that from her, and I told her that, and she said, "Oh, okay, really?" she thought it was pretty nice.
That is so cool to hear.
Yeah.
And obviously, you were at Black Ink Festival with Terry McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back to that to right now, what plays in your mind about the Black Ink Festival?
Oh wow, that was nice, man. That was one nice surprise. Yeah, I've been to book festivals, I've had book signings, and none like that. And I'm being genuine. I was completely blown away by that. That was really nice, and I hope that it continues for like the next 50, 60 years, even longer. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this, but I was the actual moderator for last year's festival.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Did a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you greatly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me get back to Metch.
Mm-hmm.
I know you explained how it is basically a mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
but what does Metch mean to you?
Oh wow, that's now that story is it's 5 African American astronauts, or you could almost say superheroes, and they're traveling back in time through a 300 million year old dragonfly, which is a space vessel, and the name of that vessel is the Mechanism. And they go back in time to save this family that's being enslaved in South Carolina on a cotton plantation. And so they go back, and it's some things that happen in there that I say this, being African American, you've heard the saying, if I was back then, if I was back then in those times, it wouldn't happen that way. Well, in Mech, I kind of give my perspective of what would happen if you went back in those times and you were a superhero or a black astronaut traveling through space and time, because they travel through space and time. They encounter different aliens that they have to fight off. They encounter the slave masters, the drivers, all the bad things that went down in those days. They encounter it, and they have to deal with it accordingly.
And let me talk to you about your future.
Mm-hmm.
What should be written about your future?
My future? I would say, I would hope, I'm a pretty spiritual guy. I would hope to God that this is going to take me somewhere. I really want to do this full time.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do full time. I want to write, I think, I say that movies is probably, it's going to come into play sooner or later. The story is always in me. Yeah. At work, in Walmart, shopping, driving on the interstate, going home from work. The story is always there. Some story is always there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I see that, but I also see me using this as a tool to help other people. Not only through, I have another book signing here on the 29th of September in Sellers,
Yeah.
South Carolina. It's to encourage black boys to read more.
Okay.
The young man, his name is Christopher Davis, he's sending out emails now to all the writers who are at the Black Ink Festival,
Oh, yeah.
trying to get more people to come up to Sellers.
Oh, good.
And like I said, that's on the 29th of September, and I'll be signing books there. But besides getting black boys and girls to read more, to help people who kids that grew up like I did, yeah, in some way.
Yeah.
I can't really pinpoint how right now, but yeah, that's in my future.
Well, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Anytime. Well, Anthony Kelly, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
I did too. I really did. I finally got to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I certainly hope that you have this. You know, I hope you keep doing this, and I hope the best for you.
Oh, yeah, I
Really
definitely
do.
will. Through the grace of God.
Through the grace of God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.